question is that the motion be agreed to, and I call the member for Warringah.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I thank the member for Wentworth for this motion, and I strongly support. Household electrification is something we must talk more of. The largest portion of our domestic emissions comes from our households, 42.2%, and then it is businesses and, of course, industry. But almost all of these emissions in our households come from energy, the machines in our daily lives. Petrol cars, gas heaters, gas water heaters, gas stoves, and the fossil fuel power plants, of course, supplying most of Australia's grid network electricity. So electrification of households, homes and cars and businesses is the key to reducing our emissions. It's how we will have the biggest impact on climate this decade. And the frustrating part is we have the technology. This is not something we need to wait for. It is all there. It's the low-hanging fruit. We just need to find the political will to roll it out at scale. So let's look to households' energy uses in more detail. What does electrification mean? We need to move from fossil fuel powered to electric and replace every appliance machine as it nears its end of life with heat pumps for hot water, heat pumps combined with reverse cycle air conditioning for space heating and cooling, induction cooking in the kitchen, and of course electric cars for transport. The savings are huge. Based on the calculations by Sol Griffiths Rewiring Australia, each household can save some nearly $3,500 per year, which is some $34,500 over the course of 10-year lifetime of appliances by going electric. So at the moment, in the absolute crisis of cost of living, this should be an absolute #1 priority to transition as many households as possible, and in particular lower socioeconomic households that are struggling with power prices and cost of living. There's a considerable upfront cost, there's no denying in this, and many households are not able to do that. So we need to supply low or zero-cost loans for this transition, especially for households on lower incomes. To fully electrify Australian homes, an investment of some $12 billion is needed over 5 years in Australian homes and vehicles, but this would reap $300 billion in household savings by 2035. This is huge, and the benefits are clear. Individuals will save thousands of dollars a year and are protected from fossil fuel costs that are spiralling out of control. We would absolutely be insured against those geopolitical influences that impact those costs, energy costs. We would immediately reduce our carbon emissions and fulfil more ambitious climate targets. We'd reduce air pollution and ensure energy security for our country, i.e. no dependence on overseas oil. In a similar way, Australian businesses will profit from this transition to an all-electric, and they need to be supported. Of course, transition from gas and oil-powered appliances and machines will lead to an increased demand for electricity. So while we have to decarbonise the grid at the same time, so we need to increase in demand as low as possible, but we need to focus on energy efficiency measures as well to reduce that demand. For that, we need to incentivise energy efficiency measures through zero-cost loans and subsidies. It can be things like LED lighting, insulation, appliances with higher star rating. These are all low-hanging fruits that we absolutely can do. There are many in the electorate of Warringah working on this, such as companies like Emerald Planet in Brookvale and so many more. We know they are looking at electrifying so many of our local businesses. Australia is so well placed to meet this increased demand for renewables and our abundant solar and wind. We absolutely need to support solar PV and protect the rights of solar owners, and go further and incentivise all households and businesses that can install solar and batteries. Of course, storage is a major issue, and that is why early in 2023 I'll be introducing a private members bill to make sure that we set an energy storage target. We must do this to incentivise and drive investment. There are many storage solutions that can be achieved through a renewable energy storage target, which would include home batteries and electric car batteries with vehicle-to-grid technology. This would be a game changer because it would make batteries on wheels of our transport. There are currently only very few vehicle-to-grid trials, and the rollout across Australia needs to be accelerated. We have access to about 20 million car batteries once all vehicles are transitioned, so the opportunities are really incredible. And local groups like Solar Alliance Brookvale are doing amazing work in Warringah, as many others are around the country. So I urge the government, electrify everything.